Welcome to another edition of Head On here on Shaw TV. Ian Holmes back for another season of delving into the issues that really matter here on mid-Vancouver Island. In today's episode, dedicating a half hour to the alarming problem of the Morden Mine deteriorating state. It's an iconic structure just south of Nanaimo, sitting on provincial park land. However, its condition is getting worse day by day, and a local society, the Friends of Morden Mine, is working to try to turn that situation around, inject some money into fixing it, but they're really facing an uphill battle. We'll chronicleize the history of the Morden Mine, also what exactly is wrong with it, what needs to be fixed to get this thing improved, some of the challenges facing to fix the Morden Mine, as well as the tourism benefits of this very special structure just south of Nanaimo on Morden Road. Very pleased to be joined by Eric Ricker, co-president of the Friends of Morden Mine, and a former life, a professor at Dalhousie University. Dr. Eric Ricker, and now you've taken on this challenge of trying to restore and really improve the fate of the Morden Mine. Eric, thanks so much for coming in studio. I really appreciate your attendance.
Ian. It's a pleasure to be here.
Such a storied history around the Morden Mine. I don't think many people know locally that this is a 101-year-old structure, the oldest surface mine structure of its type in the world, I understand, and also one of two in North America. What is the history surrounding the structure? What role did it play in Nanaimo's coal history, Eric?
The mine was built in 1913, just on the eve of World War I, as it turned out. It was built of reinforced concrete because that could be done at the time, and it was a brand new technology being applied to structures of this kind. The reason for Morden being there was a very rich coal seam beneath it, about 600 feet down, the deepest shaft on Vancouver Island was ever dug, in my understanding. And the 7 million tons of coal that are down there are still largely untouched, because once they got the mine going, they kept running into rock. And rock made for delays, and delays made for an uneconomic operation. So it boomed for about 4 years. It finished in 1921, and it then reopened in 1930, just as the Depression was going, and immediately failed under those circumstances, and was abandoned. By that time, of course, you had new fuels coming online, and diesel was becoming an important source of fuel. So coal mines were in decline, and Morden was just too expensive to work.
Now, in terms of visible evidence of our coal mining history in Nanaimo, this really stands out, doesn't it? At least something above the surface. We got some empty mine shafts around Nanaimo, which have caused some issues in recent years, dotted throughout Nanaimo, especially the southern end of the city. Also, the colliery dams used for washing coal. Yeah. But this really stands out, doesn't it, on Vancouver Island as a flagship structure for something that really represents the coal mining industry, Eric?
It's really all we have left that's in shape to be preserved for the future. There are some remnants in other sites, but they're not remnants that add up to an attractively determined destination for people to go to. At Morden, you actually can see the whole thing, the head frame, the tipple operation, and with some cleanup work and restoration work, more could be done there.
During the brief time that this was operational, Eric, what was the work site like? How many people did it employ, and how did it fit in with the local coal mining industry?
As far as we know, there were about 45 men on a given shift. We don't know how many shifts there were. Most of the company records that we have for Morden don't speak to some of the basic things we'd like to know more about. But we do have a photograph of the miners, and there's about 45 men in that photograph, as I recall.
And here are some now photos being shown for our viewers here of the old picture of the Morden Mine. Look at that structure. It's pretty impressive, just the size, 74 feet at that time. I'm sure it was a structural wonder at that piece of infrastructure at the time here.
It was. You can see with the image on the screen right now what it looks like currently. That was a photo taken in the autumn. The previous one showed the structure at the time it was booming, with the smoke belching out of the boiler house and the mine, quite an impressive sight. This particular photo image that's come out on the screen right now also shows the boiler house and the mine from a different perspective. Both those historic photos are the same mine from a different perspective.
And you look at it now, we'll get into this a little later in the program in terms of the problems, and there's a laundry list of issues with this particular structure, but it just looks so godlike, if you will. It looks just like something that's sort of eerie from the past, but it's still standing and just shows, represents the coal mining history from way back when.
There is sort of an eerie quality to it. There it stands amongst all the trees at the end of this road. And of course, at the time it was an operating mine, the site was cleared. But the trees grew up over the years and now surround the structure, and many of them are actually higher than the structure. But at 75 feet, which is what Morden was the highest structure north of the Malahat for many, many decades, built of reinforced concrete. And it still remains today a very impressive structure, particularly when you get up close to it. You can see the perspective on it that it took quite some doing to construct this thing.
So on the world stage, this is quite unique, isn't it, Eric? One other type of its kind in Illinois, I believe, and on the world stage, this is quite a very unique structure, isn't it?
That's right. There were many of these built in the early 20th century, but they've all been torn down. The only one that survives in North America is in southern Illinois. It was built later than Morden. And there are some in Great Britain we know about, also built later than Morden. All the others that were built before Morden have disappeared. In fact, we're only sure of one that was actually built before Morden. We have leads suggesting there may have been a couple of others. But Morden was amongst the first, and it is the oldest of what's left.
And I'm sure people closely connected with the coal mining community, from around the world, I'm sure has some notoriety, is really on the map in terms of an entrenched piece of coal mining history, I take it, Eric.
Yes, there's a lady right now in England, a distinguished author named Margaret Fall. She's writing a book on all the mines in the world. It's an enormous undertaking. There's going to be a Chinese publisher apparently for this book, and I don't know when she'll be finished it, but she's corresponded with us about Morden, and there'll be an entry for Morden Mine in that book. So people who know about mining history or interested in it will soon be going to her book when it's made available. They'll be finding out about Morden through there. But on the internet today, you can find out about sites like Morden very readily. People can, and there's much material on the web about Morden, including some videos, some very impressive work done by David Gogo out there singing a song of tribute to his great-grandfather, who died in Morden's predecessor mine. And there's also material on our website that people can peruse to find out about the history of the mine.
We'll find out more about the Morden mine, what's wrong with it, its deteriorating state, and some ongoing engineering studies to find out some more information about just what's wrong with this mine. We'll find out a little bit more in the program about what is being done to try to fix this. Much more on the historic Morden mine, and up after this break right here, head on Shaw TV.